and welcome to today's episode of Millennial Moms Unfiltered. We're going to be talking about smoking weed as a parent. This is a touchy subject for some people, but I come armed with facts and statistics, obviously. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Today we're at my house and my cats are just like really micromanaging. So I apologize where they pop up.
Well, look how good it looks.
Yeah, it looks like we know what we're doing.
It's like a real pod.
And it's only, looks like a real pod. It's only because I've thrown out most of my things in the past 2 years.
I have not done that yet.
I'm out of breath. It's because these pants are too tight. It was a mistake.
A mistake. I forgot that we were talking about weed as a stigma for parents today, so I'm really excited.
Yeah, I was like, which episode are we going to do first? And then I forgot to ask you, and I was like, oh shit, I've got to just say what I want to say and just go with it. All right, so, Brittni, how do you feel about smoking weed as a parent?
I love it. I am a proud canna mom. I don't smoke in front of my kids, and I don't smoke like a ridiculous amount of weed, but
Yeah.
I use weed the same way the average person drinks wine. That
was how this conversation came up with the person that floated this idea to me, is that people think it's no big deal to like have a drink daily, and
it's totally normal for like a mom to have mom time and like take a bath and have a glass of wine. I take a bath and I have a joint.
yeah.
Well, while Patrick is home and taking care of kids. Responsibly, yeah. I'm not an irresponsible user, but I definitely use it for anxiety. It helps me stay calmer. It honestly makes me a better parent. I feel like I'm way more patient and more relaxed. It helps with my pain.
Right. So I don't smoke regularly. I will like once in a while. Gio smokes regularly, and like he really is a better parent. Like he has a way longer fuse and is more patient.
Mm-hmm.
So it definitely helps him, especially because like he works from home. He doesn't like leave often, so he's here all the time. So he has the kids in the background, so it's like his fuse is pretty in line with where I'm at. So when I'm fed up and when I'm having a ridiculous day with them, he knows about it because he can hear it, right? So by the time he gets out of here, he's like, why are you doing this to your mother? So he'll smoke and it'll reset the vibe, and everyone, like I can step away and have like a minute and know that he's not gonna be like overwhelmed with the whole situation too.
Right.
So and then I'll do edibles. I have an extensive history with weed that it just did not go well. Like when I was younger, I didn't know how to like dose it. Like obviously when you're a kid and you're just like not a kid, but like you're a teenager, and everyone just like smokes and gets zooted, like, you know?
Well, I think that's the difference between some cannabis users and others, and also the stigma of it being like bad. I didn't start smoking until I was 21.
Yeah.
Like I had no interest when I was a teenager. I had friends who smoked. I was friends with a lot of stoners, like, but I just wasn't into it. And so I don't think I ever went through that phase. Like it was always pretty responsibly handled on my end. So it was always social.
Every time we talk about your life, I'm just like, wow, you're really like, you're like, I'm such a mess, but I never smoked weed as a teen. I've always really limited my intake.
Well, I grew up with parents who smoked weed, so it was normal, like, sorry, I'm really congested. It was super normal, like, it wasn't like a weird thing, so I just didn't really have an interest in it because, like,
I felt weird not having an interest because, like, I grew up, my dad was an alcoholic, so I was very, like, straight edge is the wrong word, but I had a flawed, or not healthy relationship or view with any kind of substance, really.
Yeah.
So when I smoked as a teen, it was like, to rebel. And then I was hanging out with people that were young and not responsible. So it's like you just like smoked a whole bunch. And then I had people that would lace the weed with fucking like Vicodin and shit. So it's just like I didn't have good experience, and I'm like, you know what? I don't like to smoke because every time I smoke, I'm not having a good time, and I'm getting really paranoid.
It's definitely not for everyone.
And then now I have a good relationship with it because I know what to do, and now we have like places that you can trust and know the strains you're getting.
It's legal. Like you can, which is, I didn't think I'd ever see the day where I was like driving down the highway and drive through dispensary. Like you could literally drive through with your kids in the car and get weed.
It's not legal everywhere though, right?
Not everywhere. No, it's not legal federally, and it's only legal in some states.
Right. Yeah.
And some is only medical, and some is only legal medically, not recreational.
Right.
But Rhode Island is a legal state, and Massachusetts is a legal state, so we're in neighboring states.
Right. So we're good all around. And yeah, it is crazy because, especially in the early 2000s when we were still on like the drug war bullshit, weed was always like the gateway drug.
Yeah.
And
well, it's kind of what I always grew up thinking too. It's like,
but you know what?
I
still, even now, I've never been like, I fucking wonder what it's like to do meth. I've never had that feeling.
But you know, I think that comes with like,
I think
environment.
If you're gonna do meth, you're probably gonna end up at meth. You know, you're gonna get it there regardless if you smoked weed or not. So
right, yes, yeah.
I think that
it depends on who you're hanging out with and like how. I think what's the word I'm looking for?
Or even like cocaine. I've hung out with people that like do cocaine regularly. Not anymore. But I went through a phase of a group of people that I just were not the right people for me. And I was never like down. Like I was never interested in any drugs.
I've never wanted to do any other drugs. I've never tried any other drugs. I've never even done shrooms. Like I've done
shrooms and I love shrooms.
Yeah,
and I was scared to do that because of the like paranoia
bad
of
trip
and stuff. But
yeah,
I was like, do it, and I did, and it was great.
Yeah, I mean, I've like considered it. I feel like I would. I don't like to be out of control. Weed doesn't make me feel out of control. Weed makes me feel more in control. Like when
I didn't feel out of control with shrooms. I only did a little bit. Like I don't think I would do like a whole.
Yeah, it just scares me that I would have like a really bad
experience. But that's how I felt too, that I didn't want to have like a horrible trip. And you hear like these horror stories, but it's like, those are not the norm, you know?
I'm sorry, I'm so fidgety right now because I don't know where to put my arm.
I know, and these are not comfy chairs, but they're the only two matching chairs, and it's like,
just sorry if I'm like hugging my microphone. But I actually just I follow this woman on Instagram. I can't remember her username, which makes me feel really bad, but if I'll send it to Ashley and she can add it to the show notes or something because she's awesome. But she's all about like positive cannabis use for mothers. She discloses that she's used like during pregnancy. I didn't smoke during either of my pregnancies. I was just nervous.
The thing about like weed is I feel like there's not a whole bunch of great like studies on all of these things. Like there's some. And it's all been in the time frame of like that it's bad, so I feel like the lens on it is the thing. Like smoking weed during pregnancy crystallizes the placenta. I know that's a thing that if it could cause some issues with nutrients getting to baby, but as far as like eating
edibles, I don't think edibles are. I mean, I don't know. I didn't do it just because of the fear of like there not being enough research, and also I didn't like need to. I didn't have like crazy nausea and stuff, but I know that other people have found the only comfort in their pregnancies is with marijuana usage because they have like crazy pain or nausea, like what's that called when you have it, the whole
hyperemesis gravidum.
Yeah, like I can't imagine if like weed was the only thing that brought me relief.
Right. And now we have like since it's legal and not everyone, but it's way more accessible, and like they do these trials and stuff, they can formulate things to take out the THC, and then we're looking at just CBD, and it's like cannabis is one of those things that you can do so fucking much with it,
and there should be more research, but
I think we're heading in that direction.
We definitely are now that it's getting more legalized. But this woman, she just posted in California, cannabis has officially been taken off of like the CPS. Like it's not a reason. Cannabis use alone cannot be a reason for CPS involvement, whereas it used to be. So that is a huge step. That's like huge step.
Right.
It's definitely in places where it's legal recreationally. If there's like a report or something, for the most part, from what I've heard, it's like they just kind of make sure that the kids are being taken care of. It's not out in the open. You're doing it responsibly. Like it's the same way they would treat alcohol in legal places. But it can still be a call, which is like
annoying,
bonkers to me.
Yeah. So again, the simultaneous so I just want to read. I didn't cut these down, so they're pretty long. But I just want to talk about the oldest known and written recorded cannabis use comes from a Chinese emperor, and that was like 27 BC. So like really long ago. And then in Greek culture, the Romans are familiar with cannabis, while the Middle East, it was spread throughout Islamic Empire and then into North Africa. So that's a really fucking long time ago that we're talking about weed. And then we want to scoot into the fucking 1970s where Nixon decided that we're going to roll this into the war on drugs.
Yeah.
And then, okay, I want to address the fact that my cat's name is Nixon, but it's NYX. Like, her real name is Nix, but I just say Nixon because it's funny to me. But not after Richard Nixon. It's Nix, like the goddess of the dark. You know? It has nothing to do with Richard Nixon, because fuck that guy. He just look at what bills he's passed and what he was into and all that shit. If you listen to fucking Bailey Sarian, Dark History, his name comes up in almost every episode, like, of these, like, wormhole stories she goes on. It's like,
He was.
So yeah, he's a goddamn mess, and he's the one that started all this stuff. And the reason that they were saying, or the fear mongering around weed, was that it was causing more crime, and the violent crime rates were going up, and all this stuff. Weed is horrible. If you smoke weed, you're gonna be whatever. Blah blah blah. And it was basically racist. It was racism that.
Yeah.
Was like, oh, look at all these poor black people and they're living all this crime, and look at all this shit, and that's how they used it to like scare the white people into being like, yeah, we can't have weed around. And that was like the narrative, and that's been the narrative, and locking people up and all that stuff.
How many people do you have statistics on how many people have been, like, or how many people are still in jail for like non-violent marijuana charges?
It's a fuck ton, and even in states that it's now legal, period. That's legal, not just medicinal.
Let out.
Yeah, but we're not gonna fucking do that because we're still a racist country. And then if you don't agree with that, you can just go ahead to your little Google search engine and just look at the difference of the white people that are imprisoned for drug-related offenses and the black people that are in prison for drug-related offenses. What you're gonna find is that there are less black people in the population, but more of them in prison population for these offenses. And it's not because they're doing it more, it's because we're looking for it.
Yeah.
And there's no way around that. So that's when he started the war on drugs. But what was another one that kind of fell in this? A cross study found that substantial prevalence of marijuana use among U.S. parents living with offspring aged 12 to 30 years, and that 7.6 to 9.6 of parents reported past year marijuana use, and 3.5 to 5.4 parents used marijuana on 52 days or more during the past year, reported in 2019. So that means that like almost 10% of people have admitted to smoking or using marijuana while they've been parents, and then up to 5% of parents use regularly. So that's not a huge number, but that's
underreported.
That is definitely underreported.
I've not been comfortable talking about like
smoking. Yeah.
I don't. This is probably the first time I'm like, yeah, you know what? and I'll like share some stuff on Instagram sometimes, but like I don't really talk about it regularly. The people closest to me know that I smoke, but I think like the average person might not know.
Right, and I think it's because like
still that fear.
Well,
I have
yeah,
the stigma bias and the stigma against myself.
But when you find out like who uses cannabis,
I think they're my people.
you're like, huh? What? Oh, I would never thought that because why? Because she bakes and has her shit together, and you know what I mean. When you talk to people and you find out like who uses weed, you're like, didn't see that. But there, you'll be surprised.
I love being at the dispensary and seeing all the different people that you wouldn't expect.
I know there's a whole bunch of old people, there's young people, there's business people. Like, it's
everybody. It is such like a melting pot, the dispensary. I love it.
I know. And then we have a lot of data showing how bad alcohol is and the adverse effects. Like the World Health Organization says there's no safe use of alcohol. And that was reported in 2023, as recent as 2023. And then you'll find these studies that it's like, if you're healthy and you drink 1 glass of wine, this is a positive, blah, blah, blah. There is not, it just doesn't, it's not enough, right? I know, they're doing the absolute most right now. There's like barely any positives, right? It's kind of like we're trying to scoop it together and find positives for alcohol. But overall, the alcohol-related deaths and overconsumption, car accidents it causes.
I have never felt out of control smoking weed. I have never once. I've never felt that out of control drinking either. Like I've never blacked out or anything like that. I'm one of those people who can kind of like snap out of it if necessary. But I've also felt way worse drunk, like dizzy, nauseous, vomiting, like sick, hungover. I do not feel good when I drink. I can't really drink anymore anyway. That's part of why I smoke. I get wicked headaches if I drink. Like I can only drink certain beers and certain drinks if it's like low sugar. But like I just don't find enjoyment in it. And
right, because you're dealing with it for so much longer.
My husband likes to drink, but he doesn't drink often. He'll have like whiskey on the rocks or what does he like? He likes bourbon. He'll drink whiskey. Yeah, he likes the fancy ones. He's not like a Jack Daniel's drinker.
Yeah.
So he'll do, or he loves old fashions, and he'll make himself maybe a drink or two on a Saturday night, but doesn't drink during the week. He actually started smoking once he stopped drinking so much. Not that he was like an excessive drinker, but you know, you stop.
Yeah.
Once you're a parent, once you're not partying anymore, you slow down. And yeah, he smokes before bed. It helps him get to sleep.
Yeah.
But yeah, he'll have a couple drinks, but he has even said he prefers like the way that, like, he prefers the way he feels. He can't smoke excessively though, because he'll just fall asleep.
Yeah,
so he's not
me.
Like, I have to just
fall asleep, or I'm just like creating the craziest stories in my head.
Yeah, but he kind of went through a similar thing. I don't want to like talk too much about his story, but he has alcoholism in the family. His dad passed away, and so he kind of like he was straight edge for a little while, like high school, and then he started drinking when he got older. But and then when he saw that all go down.
Straight edge is another fucking like rabbit hole that we could go into, because we went in the 80s, like the tough love parenting, send your kids to boot camp, shaming them, blah blah blah. And I feel like that was all a result of the like war on drugs and that kind of shit, because they were like terrified that their kids were gonna end up being
hippies, hippie potheads,
just like horrible, addicted to drugs, and then you like send your kids to these camps. And there was that show that I told you I watched that you need to watch. It was fucking ridiculous. Like, I can't believe it. I mean, I can believe it, but like it's really fucked up and sad. I can't remember the name of it.
Let's go back and look at the message.
Yeah, it's on Netflix. But like they talk about all that stuff, and then like straight edge, how that was like a thing that kind of came out of that culture.
Yeah.
And it's just like a wormhole in itself. Bizarre.
It definitely is.
But
he doesn't. So he doesn't really. He's not like a big drinker anymore. And I definitely think that like we watched it we personally have seen alcohol like destroy
Right.
lives,
And I mean, it's...
and I've never seen marijuana destroy lives.
Right. I mean, you have those people, like I used to date somebody that would smoke all the time, and it irritated the fuck out of me because it's like, why am I waiting for you to smoke to go into a restaurant? Like, it's a 5-minute drive.
Yeah.
Why are we waiting on you? He's like, well, you smoke cigarettes. And I was like, I throw my cigarettes before we go.
Yeah.
Like, I'll smoke up to the door, but I'll put it out. Like, you've never waited with me standing anywhere to smoke a cigarette.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's not the same. It's really annoying. Like, that's not normal. You know, if you have to smoke weed before you do anything, like, that's a dependence.
Yeah, or I would say it could be like a personality thing. Like, I feel like...
Yeah, it
like,
could help you in social
No,
situations.
not just like, I don't smoke every time I do things, but I'm saying like, there are people who just smoke all day, every day. It could be their anxiety. It could, I don't know if it's like, if they're using like self-medicating themselves with it. But I also feel like there are people who just, it depends on the person. It depends on personality. Like, I definitely think there are bumps who sit around and
people
smoke all day.
that
There are people who can't function without it.
Yeah,
but,
and I get that, and that's fine, but it's just like, there's certain things that are just really irritating.
I think, it depends on the person. I think that it would irritate me if like I was dating someone who just couldn't even.
Like, we couldn't do anything, and like, I have to smoke. It's like, it's a 30-second thing. Like, it's gonna take you longer to roll a blunt and smoke. Why do we have to smoke the whole blunt? You know what I mean? Like, you smoked an hour ago. You know, it was just
like literally high all the time. Yeah,
much. Like, it was just so much. But what's another thing that I was going to talk about? Positives of smoking weed. First of all, we can use weed for a whole bunch of stuff, not even just to consume, but as far as making products and replacing them with hemp. It's so versatile. Like, it can be used for so much. But the positives of using cannabis, and this isn't just THC, this is CBD
also.
Cannabinoids in general are so versatile, they do so much. So we're talking lowering blood pressure, reducing inflammation, not information, inflammation, preventing relapse in other drugs and alcohol addiction, treating anxiety disorders, gastrointestinal issues, preventing seizures. Remember when it was like 2012 and there was like that Oprah episode or something like that?
There's a whole
Netflix
documentary on it too.
People having seizures, and then everyone was like,
seizures,
weed is the only thing that helped, and everyone was
shrinking
like,
tumors.
Yeah, that's another thing.
Like
preventing, fighting cancer, long-term use.
Relieving nausea. It helps with eating disorders, people with anorexia.
It's literally like the miracle thing, you know?
It's not legal. Federally.
You know what? Yeah, because a lot of industries would suffer.
It goes back to pharmaceutical.
It does,
companies.
and it's really fucked. It's really fucked, but here we are.
It is.
And then now we have like that fucking Nixon war on drugs. Everyone's in jail that really should not be in jail.
I think we're progressing though, and I think that the stigma will slowly stop existing. Maybe not forever. I mean, not completely gone, but
this is one of those things that you cannot look at the information we do have and the new studies coming out, and all of the past narratives are wrong.
Not to go back to like boomers, but I feel like once they're gone, there will be less stigma. That's terrible.
That is, I mean, but it's facts. It's facts. But that was also the generation, the tough love generation that did the boot camps and like threw out their gay kids because they were gay, and you had to be.
They're also all racist.
Yes.
But see, now I don't think that'll be gone. I don't think like homophobia and racism will be gone with the boomers. I definitely think that's passed down. So I don't know if weed will be gone completely.
There is a type that perpetuates, that like really like held on to those like boomer parents. Like,
I feel like I know a lot of people my age who are more have more conservative beliefs than I think
You would
they should
expect.
have.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, ugh.
We were
With all the
watching-
information we have today, you still have these beliefs.
Ooh.
Like,
We started watching, it's a series called Them on, I think it's on Amazon, but there is not a whole bunch of things that I watch that it physically makes me ill to watch, but it's about like this family that moves from the Deep South in the 1950s to California, to Compton, and I just, I know this stuff happened, but to watch these things, and there's this one scene, spoiler alert, and also just if you have, it has to do with children.
trigger.
Yeah, it's just trigger warning, so skip past maybe the next minute if you don't want to hear it. Do you want to hear it? This white lady and her guys, I don't know if they were her sons or whatever yet this far into the series, came to this woman and she was alone with her son in the house, came in, she hid the baby. There was no way she was gonna get out of this. I was thinking, how could this have gone differently? It's not. This fucking lady puts the baby in a bag while the mom is getting raped by her inbred whatever the fucks. And they're throwing the baby back and forth, yelling cat in a bag, and then she puts the pillowcase down and there's blood. And that's how the baby dies.
Mm.
And I'm thinking, where do you, I don't understand it so deeply because I can't imagine doing that to an iguana or a lizard or something that I think is ugh. Any living thing, I don't understand
No.
how you get there.
Mm-mm.
And the things that you hear, these racist people.
But wait, so it was it the family that moved from the South?
Yeah, that was their story. They moved from the South to get away from that because the mom went into a crazy depression, obviously. Because it's
so that happened
where
in the
you-
South? Or it happened
Yeah,
in
it happened in
Compton?
the South, but Compton's not
Not
looking
better.
much better.
Right. So it was a black family,
Yeah.
and these white inbred people did this to her?
It was so, me and Gio were just sitting there
I can't watch shit like that anymore because
but the thing is, I let myself get that uncomfortable. I force myself to sit through it and analyze certain things because I have to unlearn so much racism that's embedded in me because I'm white.
yeah.
You know what I mean? And I work really hard because I have brown children that experience racism.
Yeah.
And because I don't want this shit to happen.
No, not at all.
I don't want it to continue. And I have to acknowledge my part as a white person in it.
Definitely.
But I was just
I wasn't saying that I can't watch the racist stuff. I can't watch anything with any violence anymore.
oh yeah, no.
Violence in general or anything involving
with
children.
kids and yeah, it was
It
really
makes me
really
I
hard.
feel like I'm not throw
Yeah,
up.
it was, but again, I forced myself to sit through it because you have to.
I
look at
watched a
that stuff.
documentary after that. We're totally going off topic.
We are, but also not because a lot of
it stems.
the illegality. What is the word that I'm looking for? I don't know. The reason that
Stigma
it's
and the
illegal,
illegality of it.
comes from racism.
Yeah.
As do a lot of things in American culture.
Yeah.
And you can't talk about one without talking about the other because they're so deeply interconnected.
Yeah.
And you can't record the podcast and not talk about its entirety.
Yeah. Where it comes
Um,
from. Do you know any parents who have, I don't know, been treated differently or any personal story? I don't know if I know anybody who's ever gotten in trouble or treated differently because they're a parent who uses. I can't think of any specific stories.
I don't know. I didn't grow up around people that smoked weed, and I wasn't introduced to weed until I was older, and that was already the point that we were kind of already past it.
Yeah.
And currently, I feel now I know people that didn't smoke or had negative thoughts about weed that do now smoke.
Yeah. I think that comes with
But I don't
maturity.
know that I don't have any like, she's a piece of shit mom because she smokes weed.
No.
And I don't have that thought, but I know that it's a thing. Like, I know people have thoughts about smoking weed and like being a parent. And it's more like the fear to do it versus like just having a glass of wine. And it's like, is there such thing as a one glass of wine? You know what I'm saying? Like, if you're drinking wine, you're drinking that bottle of wine.
Which, I mean, I don't know.
I mean, not me anymore.
I guess they're both
I used to do
self-medicating,
that
but
stuff.
like,
One definitely has way more disadvantages than the other.
Yeah.
Like, okay, so I've had edibles and like my children are definitely still awake.
Yeah.
And I just laugh. And Eli was like, Mommy, you so crazy.
Yeah.
Mommy, you so crazy.
I'm more fun. Like,
Yeah.
sillier.
Like, that's the worst thing that's
play
happened.
more with the kids.
But they're uncomfortable if I get drunk in front of them. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and it's because it does impair you. Like,
Yeah.
it changes your speech pattern. Like, you're off center on your shit. Like, I'm just the crazy fun mom when I'm stoned.
Yeah. Yeah. Same. We have dance parties.
Yeah, so, and again, like, you cannot do things when you are drunk and when you're high on weed. When you're stoned, I feel like I should say, I don't know, that terminology, I feel like can
Yeah, I
get twisted.
hate the word high.
Yeah, when you're stoned. When you're using
When
cannabis.
you're using cannabis. Because I
It's
feel
so
like I
many
use
words.
it without
I
even
want just
getting,
one-
because I feel
yeah.
like I use it without even having,
Yeah,
like,
microdosing. I used
effects.
to take like little bites of like low dose gummies just to like, if
Yeah.
I'm like, I already feel irritated and I just woke up, I'm gonna just like take a little nibble of this gummy and I'm gonna be okay, you know?
my max dosage with edibles used to be like 5. And slowly, when I first started taking gummies, I could do, like, a 5 would be more than enough. But I don't process them very quickly. Like, it takes like 2 hours.
Bro, I used to eat like brownies and like they taste good, so I'm like, oh damn, I don't know. And then I would be like, is this real?
I took 5 one time, and it didn't hit me. I took another 5, and it hit me while I was shopping at the mall. I was in the middle of shopping. I was in a dressing room, and I stopped. I put all the stuff down. I got dressed. I left. I went to Aunt Anne's Pretzels, and I came back. I went back into the dressing room and finished trying on my clothes while eating pretzels.
Dude, one time,
This was before kids.
Gio, like, we were trying to buy a mattress, like the fluff top for a mattress, like what are those called? Like
A pillow top?
Yeah, like for the mattress.
Yeah.
And so we were at Bed Bath & Beyond, and I think this was when it was going out of business or something. So Gio is one of those people that like does the research, knows which one, finds it, whatever. This motherfucker took like 2 gummies because they weren't gonna do anything. And we're standing there in the goddamn aisle, and he's like, what's the difference between this one? This one says da-da-da, and this one says da-da-da-da. What's the difference? What's the difference? And I'm like, we're gonna buy this today. I think we're just gonna fucking head out, right? Because you know which one that we had to get before we got here, and we've spent 35 minutes going back and forth, and you bought a 4th option, and now we're looking at 7 options.
Sorry, coughing.
And I was like,
Yeah.
let's just go. But he does not usually get like that. So that's like the story. Like we'll talk about, remember that time in fucking Bed Bath & Beyond?
But see, that feels like you did the responsible thing. You left. Patrick and I, the irresponsible thing, when we drank margaritas one night, we went and bought a couch.
And it's so easy to
And
do.
it was the most uncomfortable
Yeah,
couch we ever purchased, but 2
when
margaritas
I
deep, I was like,
drank-
this is so comfy.
Yeah, when I drink, I shop irresponsibly.
Yes.
I mean, as someone with ADHD, I do that frequently anyway. Add a little bit of alcohol.
Because there's
We're
no
buying
impulse
some
control.
You know? Yeah, it's
At
that.
least when you smoke weed, you're like, I'll do that tomorrow.
Yeah, I have to hit next 4 times. No. I should probably use cannabis more frequently. to control that.
Yeah, I feel like I'm less impulsive. I feel like I'm more in control. That's like that's
Yeah.
the only thing that really, it helps with my ADHD symptoms for sure.
Yeah, so basically, we're going on, it's 40 minutes right now. I feel like this is a good place to wrap up.
Yeah.
Because we went on a few tangents that were incredibly necessary. Let us know, do you smoke weed? Do you feel bad about smoking weed? Do you use cannabis in any way?
Do you feel stigmatized?
Yeah, have you
for
been
anyone?
mom shamed for smoking? How did this not come up in the last episode?
I think I did.
Did you?
Maybe?
I don't know, I don't remember. I'm just like...
I did. I said smoker weed. Like
Oh,
I said it
smoker
all.
weed.
I said it with a little twang because
I don't know what the hell happened, but I feel like in that episode I was looking for a couple of things that I knew happened, and then I literally created merch that by the time this comes out, hopefully I've already released. And I'm looking for a specific thing and I cannot find it, and I don't know if it's just because I've looked at it for so long or if it's because it's just missing from that conversation. It's like the Mandela effect in our podcast.
like, I know this happened. Where is it?
And yeah, I just went off on that. So yeah, let us know. We'll probably do something in our stories talking about it when this episode releases.
Yeah.
And just have conversations about it.
We should have taken a poll beforehand to see how many of our mom friends smoke weed.
Yeah, we didn't plan super well. But anyway, so we're currently wearing new merch. If you haven't checked it out on the shop,
But it's not new,
go
but
check it out. And that design's not even.
the video,
That design's not even
it's
available.
not even available. I'll have
So
my new
that's
merch on next
OG
episode.
merch.
OG merch.
Go check us out.
Just my cup.
Again, more things coming out soon. Leave us a review because it really helps you girls out.
And buy some new hats.
Yeah, I love the hats.
The hats are so cute.
Okay,